So, if there's one aircraft that really should be in the game and it's confusing as to why it's not in the game, that would be the F-18. And the reason I say this is because the F-18 should actually, if you look at it, be added. It should be in the game. It should have been in the game for quite some time now. Because if you look at its capabilities, there are aircraft that, in my opinion, I think are more capable in terms of like an air RB point of view. So it's really confusing as to why the Hornet isn't in the game, because there's nothing in particular that is game breaking about it, other than its maybe you could argue it's payload, but I don't really think so. Like, I mean, sure, it has a lot. It can carry a lot of stuff. Its armament is very impressive. I think it can carry like up to 10 AMRAMs. I'm not entirely sure. You guys can correct me in the comments as you do below normally. But the Hornet isn't particularly game breaking. I can't really see as a reason why it shouldn't be in the game. Um, in my opinion, I think Gaijin has just been very weird about it. I think they're just really trying to spread out how they add things, if that makes sense. I don't know. But the Hornet definitely isn't game breaking. In fact, it'd be a really great addition to have in game. Because a lot of people don't realize this, but the F-18 could also come to other countries, well, such as Germany, in the form of a Swiss subtree, which acts as a great alternative to the Eurofighter Typhoon. Because there is a fair argument to say that maybe the Trench Run is too advanced, but I wouldn't make that argument. You guys can do with what you can take that as you will. But as I said, the F-18, if it ever comes to War Thunder, well, it's going to come to War Thunder, but I think it should have been in the game for quite some time now. You can you can argue that the F18 could have literally come in the last update. Well, technically it's still the current update because Seek and Destroy is not out yet, but I'm going to say the last update depending on when you see this video. So the F18C could have come in Alpha Strike, maybe not in Air Superiority, but literally the two updates before Air Superiority as well. That makes sense. Because the F18, I know we shouldn't be going off service dates because service dates aren't necessarily relative to capability. But the F18 is from 1974, I think. So it is actually quite an old aircraft. But like I said, just because I said it's from 1974 and should be in the game by now doesn't mean we should go off service dates, okay? Because, like I said, it's not relative to actual aircraft capabilities. Otherwise, we'd have stuff like the F-22 because the Su-27 is from like the 2000s, and then the same thing with the Eurofighter. But as I said, there's really nothing that suggests it to be game breaking. Its payload is impressive, sure. It'll be a very good multi role. It'll be very good in ground actually for close air support. And I think I think if they added it, I think it'll be one of the most balanced aircraft to add because it's a jack of all trades, master of none. It's not going to particularly be. Oh, I forgot how to speak English. It's not going to particularly dominate Air RB, in my opinion, because you have stuff like you can see in the background the F-15C, the F-16C, the flanker, and so on and so forth. So it's really confusing as to why it's not in the game. And if it does come to the game, like I said, it could also come as a Swiss F-18 and could go to the Germans, because the F-18 will also literally solve all of Germany's problems, like the Typhoon does, but on a worse platform, if that makes sense. Well, less advanced platform, because it's very good for air superiority. Like, it may not be the best, but it can still compete, definitely. Especially if you get the F-18C variant for the Germans. And it's very, very good at close air support. Which, surprise, is kind of coincidental because Germany needs something that's both good in air and good in ground. Because the new F4F Ice, quite frankly, isn't going to cut it in either of those situations. You can argue that the Tornado, and to be honest, I would argue that the Tornado can still get the job done, but it's not really all that good, even for close air. Actually, for close air support, it's still decent, but it's not amazing. So an upgrade would be nice. But like I said, the Hornet would be able to do both nicely, and I would 100% take an F18 over an F18C over an F4F5 for literally. Well, that's common sense. Anyone would take an F18C over an F4F5. That's not crazy to say. But I digress. The F18 is just that good of a platform. It's one of those platforms that are so good, but it won't actually break the game. So I think Gaijin are kind of taking the piss, to be honest. I really have no idea why this isn't in the game. It's actually baffling. You know, Gaijin just do Gaijin things. A lot of them, like, a lot of their decisions just don't make sense. Honestly, sometimes the decisions need to be studied, because I don't know how you could make such a stupid decision. And an example of that being adding the F4FIs. They could have literally done anything else, like at the R77 for the Migthunder. Let's be honest. It's not the first time that they've made something up to make the country competitive. We are talking about the same company that literally made a fictional F16 and gave it to Japan. I don't know how the R77 coming to the MiG-29G would have been that game breaking. But anyways, this video is not about that. It's about the F18. But yeah, the F18 really should be in the game by now. Like I said, it could have basically come in any update bar air superiority, because America are already getting the F15, so to get 2 top tiers in one update would have kind of been a bit bullshit, to be honest. But it can have literally come in any update, and to be honest, I was personally expecting it to come in. I was actually expecting it to come in air superiority, not air superiority. I just said that it's the update that it shouldn't come. Well, wouldn't been able to come into, but it should have come in Alpha Strike, in my opinion. Because let's be honest, the Alpha Strike update was a bit shit. Like, there was the F18 is a major aircraft, but they could have put it in there and be like, okay, here's the star of the show for this update. But you know, Gaijin doing Gaijin things doesn't really make sense to literally any human that has an ounce of common sense or more than 2 brain cells. But you know, it is what it is. The F18. Some people think that it will come in December. I've seen some things that people are saying that the F18 would come in December with the Eurofighter and the Rafale. I'm not in. Although I think the F18 will come in December, and as much as I want the Typhoon to come in December, I'm not. I'm still. I'd say I'm 60-40 because I can see it happening, because Germany going to get steel clubbed with the F4FIs, quite frankly. But people say it's too advanced and stuff. But I'm not sure how they would all come together, because the Eurofighter and the Rafale, that makes sense. They're actually very comparable, whereas the F18, not really, because Gaijin tend to add aircraft that are actually comparable with each other, stuff like the F15 and the Su-27 and stuff like that. But anyways, the aircraft should be in the game. Gaijin are weird. I don't know why they're doing this, but anyways, take care. Have a good day. Peace.